Greetings, dear listeners, and welcome back to another enlightening episode of The Thread of Life. I'm your host, CJ Larkins, and today we're embarking on a transformative journey into the realm of symbiotic systems and solutions. Join us on this enlightening journey as we uncover the keys to reshaping our reality and building a society based upon justice. We will navigate through the hidden complexities in these systems, shining a light on the interconnectedness of individual actions, the intention behind these systems, and the results we call a society. From the visionary perspectives of Dr. Francis Cress Welsing and Neely Philly Jr., to the insightful reflections of author Princella Clark, we'll uncover the keys to building a world where every individual can thrive. This is the thread of life, where each thread weaves together the patterns in our universe. So let's set the atmosphere for today's conversation with this quote by Lorani Bassett Jr., author, editor, and activist. He wrote, "Every Black person is obligated to try to do what he does as well as any person who ever lived can do it, or any person who ever lives can do it. Then to try to save just one person if you can, and then to struggle to destroy a system which is multiplying Black victims faster than all the Black intellectuals and the Black leaders in America can talk about. I see those three things connected." Now that's a powerful quote. We'll pause right there because a lot of these things are connected. And we want to look at different perspectives to gain a whole picture for clarity. So let's continue on. The title of today's episode is Symbiotic Systems and Solutions. So our discussion today is centered on systems and how we can create solutions in these systems. We all know the first step in problem solving is first identifying that there is a problem. This can be difficult to diagnose from one perspective, which is why I talk about, and which I just said that we look from different perspectives to gain an entire picture. It's just as if it's similar to Snapchat, Instagram, Facebook, social media. You look at one story, you get one person's perspective. You look at a group of people's story, then you can put together a clearer picture of what's going on when you have different perspectives because we can begin to see from different angles. So what we're going to do today is look at different systems and look at the intention of these systems and look at their operation, the result of the systems, and solutions to these systems. So I was introduced to a remarkable young woman's radical ideas about the male and female relationship in today's society through a great friend of mine, an enlightened man, known P. I hope that I'm saying his name right. He's going to come on the show later and bless us with a wealth of information and knowledge. He was supposed to come on today, but everything is in divine alignment. So I'm already thinking of the next show that I'm going to invite him on, and I want to get really deep, and hopefully we can talk about some ancient Egyptian mysteries and pyramids, which has been really intriguing me. So that's when I was introduced to an author, Princella Clark. And I was impressed with her presentation of her ideas. But the way that she presented her ideas was shocking, and it did cause a reaction in myself. So if you all don't know who Princella Clark is, I'll play a clip from her, and that way you can gain an understanding of where I'm coming from. So let's play the clip. Just give me 1 second, and I'll find it.
And try to tell you and communicate with you what they need from you and all of this, and it go in one ear and out the other, because you know what, you don't talk to men. You don't reason with men. You make men feel the consequences.
So is cheating? Is cheating wrong or right?
I'm not saying anything is right or wrong. I'm saying
I'm asking.
No, what I'm saying is I don't talk about what's right and what's wrong, because now we get into how people feel and what people's opinions are. What I'm talking about is what is, why it happens, and the desirable and undesirable outcomes. If cheating is undesirable, is an undesirable outcome for you as a woman, then I need you to understand this is how males behave, and this is what's going to happen. If cheating is an undesirable outcome for you as a man or for a woman, then this is how women operate, and this is how you need to behave to prevent that. If y'all not gonna do it, this is what's gonna happen. And if y'all don't like that, then y'all need to go y'all separate ways. I don't think in terms of good, bad, right, and wrong. I think in terms of what is, right? And so I remove emotion from my assessments of things, right?
So that is part of the message that Princella Clark delivers. And she goes on even further, much further, and expounds upon her ideas and her beliefs. And she offers academic research and evidence for her ideals. So I want to thank Mr. Noon for introducing me to this young lady, because we didn't know each other. We met. Of course, everything is in divine alignment. And he just said, "Hey, have you heard of, this young lady, Priscilla Clark, aka the Queen Maker?" The Queen Maker. I'm like, no. So I listened, and it caught my attention. And I listened, and it rubbed something against me. And when I hear things and it frustrates or irritates me sometimes, and I know then that's something that is rubbing against maybe a core belief or something that's ingrained in me, and I need to listen further. So I continue to listen, and it almost confounded me. I was like, oh my goodness, but she was right. She spoke on the relationships between men and women, and the failure of them in this society. And like I said, her message goes further. And, there's one thing that I do like is to hear different perspectives, even if they may be, far out, is to be able to respect a different perspective and to listen out and to listen. And that is how we create that, that compassion and that openness with one another, because we have to be able to hear each other out. So I listened, and I kept listening, and I realized that I identified with her message from an emotional standpoint. And it took me about a week or so to get out of that emotional standpoint. Okay. And just like she says in the video, take the emotions out of it. So I had to take the emotions out of it. And when I took the emotions out of it, I said, wow, this young lady is echoing a message that I've heard, and the message is from one of our elders, Dr. Frances Cress Welsing, and she is a renowned psychiatrist, author, researcher. And if you read her work, the ISIS papers, she came up with the Cress theory of color. And Dr. Welsing goes on, and she talks about identifying patterns within the system that we're all in. So I don't know if you've heard or listened to Dr. Frances Cress Welding, but she is one of the people who I was I am blessed to say opened the portal for me in my spirit, because when I heard her, something resonated with me, and it started me on this thread. It wasn't even a full pull. It was just like, it's something, going on here. And I began to listen. And her ideas are still, profound. So I want to play this clip, because I like for things to speak for themselves, versus me to speak for people. We can take it straight from the source, and then that's how we can better be able to judge for ourselves, or better to be able to accurately assess what is and what is not, and see what resonates with us. So I'm going to play this clip from Dr. Frances Cress Welsing, and then we'll go into a little bit about that. So,
This so-called game of chess. Now, if we look further at the chess game, that in the game of chess for the last 100 years, the game has been played where white always moves first. So that the white side of the chessboard is playing offense, defense. The black side of the chessboard has to play defense, offense. So I say that that's a perfect analogy to white supremacy. White supremacy has to move against non-white people for the purpose of white genetic survival, do you see? And also the game of chess is about checkmating the king. You see, with white moving offensively and then defensively, that means that the real issue in the game of chess is about the white king checkmating the black king. And I say that that is perfectly analogous to racism, white supremacy, because the primary thrust of the attack of racism, white supremacy, it's against all black people or all non-white people, but it is most specifically against the black male, because it is the black male who can cause white genetic annihilation. You see, and so the game of chess is about the white king checkmating the black king. Mm-hmm. And so I say that if we begin to say, oh, it's like the game of chess. You see, and black people say, oh, we didn't understand that. Mm-hmm. Oh, now we can play, because it's just a matter of tactics and strategy. And I go further, to look at the chessboard as though each of these columns, each of the vertical columns on the chessboard, we really need 9. Mm-hmm. And if we looked at it, one column represents economics, another economics, education, entertainment, labor, law, politics, religion, sex, and war. And so you have to play on those 9 fronts simultaneously, which is just like playing chess. You don't play on just one column. You have to play and look at all of the columns at the same time. Uh-huh. Do you see? And so if we now begin to say, oh, we understand the dilemma of the white minority on the planet, that they are actually operating in fear of white genetic annihilation, you see, and the intention then being to survive, white genetic survival by any necessary means. And I mean any necessary means, any necessary means. Then black people can begin to say, oh, okay. That means that we have to have tactics and strategies for, you see, black survival and maximal development. In the presence of this continuous onslaught, we will give up completely, you see, begging and pleading, that all of that energy, like 90% of our energy as black people in this area of the world, is being spent begging and pleading, you see, but that would be analogous to the person who is playing the black side of the chessboard begging the white side to let them win. Uh-huh. Do you see? So if you're playing the black side of the chessboard and you start asking the white side to let you make some points, they ought to take you to the nearest mental hospital. That's not the way the game is played.
And there we have a very important message from Dr. Frances Cress Welsing. I want to thank her for the work that she did and really espousing this message from the 60s, up until the 2000s, what a journey, and what a blessing to us all. So what I want to say is Welsing's message can be understood, overstood. It can be comprehended in multiple ways. And as I'm learning about the implicate and explicate, when I first received the message, I did receive it for what it is initially. And that is that, hey, there is, something that I'm facing. I am facing challenges here that I didn't know. I am facing the results of racism, white supremacy. I couldn't easily identify all of the aspects of it. So Dr. Welsing helped to make that clear. As the message continued on and, sat with me, Now I can begin to understand this as a more of a message of let's analyze and look and see, because I'm not the only person this is happening to. Let's see and say, what's going on? Okay, the first thing you have to do is identify a problem and slow down. You cannot continue to move forward, and it's a continuous system designed to keep us constantly busy and distracted. Dr. Welsing said we have to look at this as a system and see that in every level of people activity, when we're moving about in our daily activity and living these lives that we live in society, that there are obstacles and challenges on each of these levels. Me, as a woman, as a woman of color, I looked. It wasn't just me that it was happening to. It isn't just people of color. It's people of all. It can be all beings. It is people from different backgrounds. It's happening to people, and it's happening globally. So now we're talking about, yes, a global system, and global system of racism, white supremacy is a global system of isms. There is a system, but it's bigger than we first saw it as, and that's why it's important to take other perspectives. So we see that we are in a system. So now we have to say, what do we do within this system, and what are we doing? We are constantly expending energy. We are constantly doing something. So that is why it's so important to begin to slow down and start to ask questions. And the more you slow down and start to ask questions, the more you are able to think critically, because your mind is able to go into deep and continuous thought about something. That's why we call it the thread of life, because once you start to unravel it, who knows when it'll stop. But yes, Dr. Welsing identified this, helped me to identify this on multiple levels. As above, so below. I saw it on a smaller level at first, which was bigger than the level I thought it was on, and then I saw it on a much larger, wider network happening. And that is the important thing. So Welsing worked with a wonderful author, Neely Fuller Jr., and he wrote a book, The United Independent Compensatory Code to Counter Racism, White Supremacy. And his ideas, I don't have a clip for him. I would love to play one, but I want to get this message across. Neely Fuller Jr., as I stated, worked with Dr. Fuller, with Dr. Welsing, and part of his message was he was able to identify that we are not operating in our optimal selves, similar to the ideas that author Princella Clark presented, that there is a extreme breakdown in the relationships of male and female, and he identified this on a uh, people of color, on a black men and women relationship type, in a relationship dynamic. Princella identified it as bigger than that, in the scheme of all men and women in our society. So you have those two viewpoints which run analogously almost, and they both identify that there is a breakdown in the male female relationship in our society. And Neely Fuller Jr. says, do the best you can, realize that it's not that, and continue on. He calls it with a companion, or whatever it is that you have. He says that we cannot become universal. Well, I don't want to quote exactly, I'm not quoting exactly, but that we're not living our optimal lives. And I agree that we are not living our optimal lives within these systems. And Neely Fuller Jr. goes on to say, and this is something that I really loved when he said it. He said we have to destroy the system. And he says we have to destroy the system and replace it with the system of justice. We have to destroy the system of white supremacy racism and replace it with the system of justice. I say we need to destroy any system, including racism and white supremacy. I don't think that's the biggest system, but there are bigger systems in play. We need to destroy these systems that are not operating in alignment with our own morals and values. This is our society. So why do we do the things that we do? When we start to ask those questions, then we have to get the answers from other people. Why are other people giving us the answers for why we do something? So why are we doing something? If it doesn't have purpose for us, if it's not a part of our plan, then that's something that we should question. Now, questioning does not mean that you're not going to do it, but a question is saying we need to have a foundation for this, because all systems have foundations. We don't even know what we're operating under and why. We just continue on because it's been programmed into us. The study of systems brought me serendipitously, I will say, as I'm studying this, I started to continue to read this book here that was given to me by my very good friend who I want to have on the show. Jill, I want you on the show. I hope you are invited and, you will come on the show one day and discuss with me very soon. So Jill, you're invited. I know you're listening. So this book, Jim Marrs, goes into, if you can see, the hidden history that connects the Trilateral Commissions, Freemasons, and Great Pyramids. But he talks about systems and why, and he talks about systems and he talks about organizations and what they're founded on. We need to know, what are these systems founded upon and why are we operating in them? What's the intention? What's the intention of our school system, of our hospital systems, of our agricultural system, of our government system? We can look, what is the intention of our body system? It's to keep us going. What is the intention of, do we see how everything begins to come together? I had to remove my own experience from it and see how this was applying not only in my life, but in patterns around me. And this book, Ruled by Secrecy, showed me that everything has intention, even the things that we think don't. Those usually have the deepest symbolism, which, of course, is a deep intention. So sometimes it can feel a bit daunting. Life can, be tough, and studying certain things can open portals, doorways for you. And it can be scary sometimes walking into the unknown. Um, there are sometimes people who don't want to go forward. I've heard people say that they don't want to tear down their reality because they don't know what to believe in, or they wouldn't have anything to believe in. But we have to face the reality of things to be able to live in this and function in this society. So it's important to think of the intentions and the foundations of these systems. So, like I said, sometimes it can feel daunting. And, I did begin to feel that way. So, when I had all this information, I said, hold on. Okay, there's a reason for this. And then my mind was able to relax and click into the next gear. And it said, okay, what are the solutions? I didn't have to think too long and hard about it, because when I saw the options, or when I listened to Priscilla Clark, and she just said, basically, it's not redeemable. Don't even try to put your energy into it. It's a wrap. Then I listened to Neely Fuller, and he said, we're not living as our optimal selves because we need to destroy these systems and replace them with systems of justice. So when I listened to all of this, I said, okay, everything converged. Everything, as they say, the holograms, everything lined up, and I received that download of information that we have to create systems with intention. Okay. And so we have to create symbiotic systems and solutions. And I'll tell you how this all came to me. I started thinking about nature. And in my head, literally, it wasn't like, a water oasis. It's just like the jungle, like maybe the Amazon rainforest, and, birds and water. And I'm like, what is the word I'm looking for? And it came into my head, and it didn't come to my head. That vision came into my head, and I was looking for the word, and I had to look it up: symbiotic. And when I looked it up, I said, let me get the definition because I know this is the right word, but I needed, it was something I hadn't really, a word I hadn't used in so long. So symbiotic, and the definition of symbiotic is from the Cambridge Dictionary is involving people or organizations that depend on each other. We need to create synergetic systems. So by creating symbiotic systems, they will be synergistic. And synergistic, the definition of synergistic is causing or involving synergy, the combined power of working together that is greater than the power achieved by working separately. Okay. See, when we look at things from one perspective, we're looking at them separately. We're looking at a fractal. We're taking it from that single perspective and saying, I, me, this. No, that's not the only perspective that we can have. Yes, we can have that perspective, but we can also take a look from the collective. Or, like I said, we can go on Snapchat and see those different stories and put together a full picture because it doesn't just happen on the level of racism, on the level of race. This happens on the level of male female. This happens, as we can see, where the relationships are divided. It happens in the issue of class, where we can see wealth dividing people. It happens in the issue of education, where we can see that education divides people. There are things that are used to classify us, okay? And this causes the opposite of synergistic relationships. The people are not working together because we are put into these classes and these different divisions. Okay, so that's why it's important. We can take the messages that we receive on one level and look at them and say, yes, Priscilla Clark, she talked about male-female relationships. Yes, Dr. Welsing talked about white supremacy racism. And these are problems. But we can look at Priscilla Clark and Dr. Welsing and say these are two examples of different relationships, two different systems, okay, where we can see the divisions are placed. But if we create synergistic systems, then when people are working together, then we don't have those divisions. So the important thing to do is to be able to let go of the ideas that have been implanted to our mind and start to see what works for our situations. We must create systems that are reciprocal, where energy flows. Okay. And another vision that came into my mind when I thought of symbiotic, I thought of ecosystem, and then I thought of the water cycle, how everything replenishes. Okay, everything has a part to play, and everything should replenish. We should not have systems that do not replenish themselves. It's just like we should not have food that does not have seeds in it because it doesn't grow. It's not able to replenish itself. We shouldn't always just go to the grocery store to buy food because then we're always consuming. We're always going there to get food. That's no replenishing. We need to have gardens and plant food. Okay. We send our children out for education. Okay. And then they go out to receive education. But who's doing the educating? Are we becoming educators? Okay, where it's time to stop pouring into these dead end systems. We must ask questions, and we must start to remove ourselves if we so choose. If you continue to do something, make it a choice, a conscious decision to say, I agree with this and I'm going to continue on. But if there are things that are not in alignment with our lives, and I'm, for one, have had to and still make choices every day. If something doesn't, I don't have to make them every day, because once you start to live this way, then your life will start to balance itself out. Like the book The Law of Attraction says, certain people will vibrate out of your life. Like attracts like. But the important thing is to stop participating in these dead end systems, or we need to ask for results. Dr. Welsing said, why would we ask, the oppressors to, free us? I mean, that is a good point. That is okay. We have to create communities. We don't necessarily have to create institutions. We don't need to call them institutions. We can create community centers. We can create learning centers for our communities. Okay. We may not have to create a big, huge network of things. That's the system that's in place. We can find other ways to create the results that we want, but we have to set an intention. We have to set intention, and we have to follow that intention with impassioned action. Okay, we have to execute. And then we'll see the results. We'll begin to see the results that we want, and we have to continue on that path and stay consistent. So this is why I want to continue to, this is why I have to continue to put out this information for consistency. This is my dream. This is my passion. As you can see, I have my dreams on the wall, like Create Wealth TV. I have to create that. It's not, this is not something that is, I see the realness of things and I see the evidence of it. So the system that I was in and some of the systems I was in that I've had to break out. I've had to, like I was just telling someone, when you read, there are certain points where we reach forks in the road in our lives at certain times. And, we make a conscious decision or sometimes unconscious, but it has an effect on our lives. So we must not only walk and live with intention for our personal lives, but we all play a part in this cosmic symphony. We all play a role in this beautiful song that the universe sings. So the more of us that get on key, the more of us that are in balance, and the more of us that are in harmony, we begin to see beautiful things. And that is the result that we want to see in the world. We want to see beautiful results. We want to create the world that we want to live in and the lives that we want to live and the things that we want to see around us. We want to see good and beautiful things and have good lives, and we want to have the abundance, and we want to have our desires fulfilled and met. And that means, that we have to live our lives in a certain way, and we have to give a certain thing. We have to give certain things, which is we have to give energy to attending to the problems, and we have to give energy to intention, and we have to give energy to our actions and taking the correct actions that are in alignment with our morals, with the societies that we want to create, with our goals, and with what resonates with us as human beings. So that is pretty much what I wanted to deliver. It takes to see from different perspectives for us to get an entire picture. And those people brought a picture together for me, and it has really caused me to be more pensive, which is shifting. This is a shift for me. And it's more so into the person that I was as a child. I enjoy this. I enjoy learning, and I enjoy being able to present information and share information. I hope and I love when people share information with me. Like I said, my friend brought this information, this Priscilla Clark, this author, to me, and I was able to relate that to these other things in my life, and the experience, and to see what's going on around me and around us. So thank you everyone for listening in. We are going to continue to do this. Things are going to, the material is going to improve. Everything is going to improve. Thank you all for really rocking with us. Thank you for the supporters. Thank you for support. And thank you for believing in my dream. And you don't know like what that means to me for people to listen and to be able to journey to a close. We're reminded of the power each of us holds to affect change. Symbiotic systems and synergistic solutions isn't just a topic, it's a call to action. Remember, every action, no matter how small, contributes to the transformation of our society. Embrace the responsibility, challenge the norms, and let's co-create a world that produces justice. Stay connected by subscribing to the Thread of Life podcast on your favorite platform. Be the first to experience our upcoming episodes designed to inspire and guide you on your journey. Don't forget to spread the message by sharing this episode with friends, family, and colleagues. Engage with us on social media. Follow us on Instagram at The Thread Pod. Once again, that's The Thread Pod. Until our paths converge again, let's be the architects of positive change, weaving together the threads of justice and harmony into the fabric of our shared reality. Peace and blessings to each and every one of you.